including the game winner over Southern. Terrific header towards the end. And then you see Texas A&M Corpus Christi, their lineup. It is Terrio that gets the start behind the sticks. Mentioned Emma Crump and then Morgan Westbury, of course, the prolific goal scorer. Megan Guy as well has scored pretty much at will this year as well, leading that attack. And we're underway here in Hammond.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, Coach Shaw going with a 4-3-3 formation, trying to take advantage of the speed up top that we talked about earlier and trying to get his players in those one-on-one positions. And then, of course, for the Lady Lions, Coach Gillespie going with a 3-5-2 formation, as we talked about, trying to look for those counterattacks. And it looks like we have an early foul here against the Islanders.
And now here's the free kick coming into the box, and that is going to be handled by Terrio in goal. Just a little overshot right there, but an early chance for the Lions.
That was a very well set taken kick. And on frame. Again, anything can happen when you're playing on turf. We always talk about the bounces, and goalkeepers probably don't like that very much, but very well taken shot there. First shot of the match. First opportunity for the Lady Lions.
And now moving it on the wing. Trying to get her way past the defender. Southeastern with some early possession. A through ball there to the wing. The cross is in, but that's going to be a goal kick. Some nice movement early on. Little 1-2s played by the Lady Lions.
Very good ball movement. Good ball played wide. Unfortunately, weren't able to get the service in. You like to get that service in to the box, obviously, in the field of play, but very good speed. I like the pace of play here early from the Lady Lions.
And Haley Rowe getting up the field, one of those twins in defense. In this back three, you see she put the cross in to the box earlier. They like to get their defenders forward, join the attack. And it's a throw in for Corpus Christi. That is Jaden Ray, the defender. He tosses in. Rowe again on the action, got her foot in there. And Southeastern wins back possession. And now pocket is picked. We could have something on the go here. A little errant touch, but possession is kept by Corpus Christi. And a nice through ball on the wing, but not the greatest touch. And Griffin calls everyone off. Corpus Christi, a little glimmer of opportunity here early. Maybe some warning signs for that Lady Lions defense.
Yeah, I thought initially they were going to call a foul there, actually against the Islanders, but the ball kind of fell loose to George, and George started with the attack on the right wing there. So good effort there, good response from the Islanders.
And Jaden Ray courts the ball out of bounds. Will be a throw-in for Haley Rowe in SLU. And that's going to be intercepted immediately. Cheeky little head by Storm Harris, but she is dispossessed. And now Rowe with a nice through ball down the flank. And kept in play beautifully right there.
And that was Yoder. What a fantastic run from Yoder. She actually timed her run extremely well there. You have to be mindful of that pass coming down the line and not overrun it such that you're in an offside position. But what a great run there from Yoder. Ultimately wins her team a corner kick.
And that'll be taken by Claire Houston, the graduate student. And her delivery into the box is deep, and that is headed away. And I believe maybe some pushing and shoving in the box. A lot of mayhem happens in there on any set piece. I believe a foul was called in favor of Corpus Christi. They'll have a free kick.
Yeah, you like to see the aggressive play here. Again, both teams going at it here early, and you love to see that. It almost begs the question, do they really want to get that first goal? And I think the answer is always a convincing yes. You'd love to get the head start. I love the effort here from both these teams early.
Terrio putting her boot through it. Bit of pinball action in the midfield. And a clearance out of bounds into the stands. Throw in for Corpus Christi.
And you see some tight marking here from the defensive players of the Lady Lions. Again, probably very mindful of what we talked about earlier and not wanting to give a lot of space to the forwards of these attacking players from the Lady Lion or from the Islanders.
And a turnover by the goalie Griffin, but her side is able to momentarily get possession back, but now here come the Islanders. And that won't give Griffin any trouble.
Yeah, good through ball there, looking for Harris, but a little bit too far forward there, making it an easy save and pick up there.
And Jones plays a nice ball from her center back position in the middle of that back three. And Southeastern, now Huston plays a ball, or Houston, excuse me.
Good physical play on the ball there. Referee allowing play to go on, probably a shove. But what we're seeing is some very early physical play here from both these teams.
Haley Rowe now finding her midfielder. And Corpus Christi, a turnover on the counter attack. Storm Harris will receive the pass. Can she find her teammate? Almost. She had to the pick and found the Southeastern defender.
Yeah, that was a good run there from Westbury. She kind of took her time there, was waiting to see whether she would play it in maybe a little bit sooner, but good defending there from the Lady Lions and clearing that ball out of play.
Jaden Ray with a long throw. And early on, usually coming into this game, reading the scouting report, Corpus Christi, you would expect to have more of the ball, but it's been Southeastern and these opening roughly, 7 minutes of play that we've had tonight.
Yeah, I've anticipated a little bit more possession play from the Islanders based on speaking with Coach Shaw, but so far, everybody's pretty content to attack.
And it'll stay with Southeastern on the front foot here early on in this crucial Southland Conference matchup. And that is Holly Rowe, not to be confused with Haley, the two twins I mentioned. Quite awesome that they play in defense together as well. Two of the three in this back three line on defense of Southeastern. As you see, they're comfortable with the ball at their feet, getting it forward as well, finding some passes. And Claire Houston plays a long ball, and it is run onto. And crossing at the back post and cleared away, still in the box.
That was Massengill, and what a great run, as you said. Just a great run into space. Provided super service into the box, went long post with it. And initially a good header there out from the defender from the Islanders. But again, great attacking here early from the Lady Lions. Great ball in there from Massengill.
Zoe Terrio now will kick it away. And the ball goes towards the Corpus Christi sideline. Another header out of bounds. Southeastern putting the pressure on. Some tight marking in the defensive half of Corpus Christi that the Lady Lions are putting on. Nice chested control. And a lofted ball to the back post, and we have an own goal right off the rip. Southeastern gets on the board. Wow, just a looping ball into the box and found its way off of the defender for Corpus Christi into the net. Zoe Terrio, hands on hips, 1-0 Southeastern.
Yeah, that's a tough one there. I think that was Ray on the back line there. Incidentally, went off her head there. But what a great ball in, and I couldn't tell who put that ball into play, but it was a super ball in right into the box, and Ray just a little bit unfortunate there. And an easy goal there for the Lady Lions. Terrio probably didn't read the change in direction on the header. Not the goalkeeper's fault there, just very unfortunate. If you're Texas A&M Corpus Christi, but here they come quickly on the counterattack.
And here they do come, a last-ditch clearance, and then the shot is fired well over the crossbar there. But I'll give some credit to Massengill with that run. And I believe our sideline reporter, Mackenzie Fletcher, has some info on these Lady Lions. Mackenzie?
Chase, while most first-year head coaches have to start out getting to know their program, returning players, and university, Lady Lions head coach Nathan Gillespie was a step ahead in that regard. He actually served as a Southeastern assistant for 3 years prior to taking over, where he also worked with the goalkeepers and was a part in helping develop former goalkeeper Nadine Maher as an All-Southland Conference goalie who posted 8 shutouts and won the league's tournament MVP award when Southeastern claimed their title in 2020. Current goalkeeper Olivia Griffin has also learned from Gillespie and has racked up with 3 shutouts already this season. Along with Griffin, the rest of Southeastern's players and members of this coaching staff are excited to see how this program continues to grow under Nathan Gillespie.
Thank you, Mackenzie, on that awesome tidbit there. As yes, Gillespie experienced as a goalkeeper coach. And you see Olivia Griffin moments ago, camera zoomed in on her. She's really had a breakout sophomore year, solidifying herself as the one behind the sticks for these Lady Lions.
Yeah, and here's actually the replay. Initially, the ball in from Houston, and unfortunately, Ray just probably in the wrong spot there, not 100% sure what to do. That's one where you almost want your goalkeeper to kind of come off the line and say, I've got it, and let that goalkeeper take control. But nonetheless, what a great effort there for the Lions. Great ball in from Houston. And kind of getting back to your goalkeeping comment, I mean, how nice is it to have a quality goalkeeper and then top that off with a coach who has so much experience in teaching that specialty. It's just great.
And here's Westbury, the leading scorer, taking the corner kick. Whipping it in with that left foot of hers. And deep into the box. Header is won by Corpus Christi, but no harm, no foul. Well wide of the target. And Olivia Griffin will have yet another goal kick.
Yeah, and that was Lotzer on the header. Probably ball could have been played maybe a little bit closer to the goalkeeper there. Of course, playing a packed defense there were the Lady Lions. Yeah, not allowing any free runners into the box and making it difficult to give up anything easy up the center.
Storm Harris with some nice pressure as Southeasterns look pretty comfortable on the ball. Corpus Christi kind of trying to return the favor, maybe get some turnovers on their side of the field, turn some quick defense into offense, but Southeastern really controlling play to this point.
Well, it's early in the match, as a coach, you're kind of feeling out your opponent still, but again, I'm pleased with the pace of play here, frankly, from both teams. They're just playing outstanding, playing hard. And even though Westbury wasn't successful, she was going 100% to earn her team that initial corner kick. And sometimes that can be the difference in games, is how many set pieces you can win and how many you can then take advantage of.
And Corpus Christi with a turnover. Southeastern now with the ball. Pressure is being put on the midfield. Houston, who had that assist for the own goal, our only goal of the game. If you're just now joining us, Emma Jones playing it into her midfield, and now Haley Rowe trying to make a run. Gets a foot on it, but that will be a Corpus Christi throw-in.
I like what I'm seeing from the movement here from the Lady Lions. You're seeing the midfielders getting active in transition. That's what we do. That's what they do. We talked early in the match about their ability to play in transition and counterattacking, and you're seeing that here displayed early in this match.
And now on the wing and crossing it into the box, the header, little mistimed, and that'll go out of bounds.
Yeah, that was Fuller. Just a little bit unfortunate. There's a good service into the box there, but Fuller just a little bit ahead of that ball. Sometimes you, as a runner in the center, when you're looking to receive those passes, you want to kind of hold back. But in that particular case, I think she was in a good position there. Ball just was just a tad behind her, making it difficult for her to get a header on frame.
I believe that was Nicole O'Neill with the service. And one thing I've noticed so far is Dalton Fish in the formation as a midfielder, but she's playing pretty deep so far. Number 8 in black for SLU, providing some extra coverage and defense.
Yeah, and we talked about that too in pregame, just knowing that these midfielders are going to have to come back and defend. And they've done a pretty good job there in making it difficult and not allowing the forwards for the Islanders to find free space. But again, it's early in the match, and I'm sure the Islanders are going to have something to say about it, and certainly they're going to continue to push as hard as they can and try to generate what they can as well.
The Islanders with possession at the moment. And And a nice little 1-2 there. Storm Harris tried to get a touch, but a nice piece of defending by Emma Jones. And it will stay with Corpus Christi. A little more on the front foot since going down a goal early. And you see Coach Craig Shaw in his 5th season now in charge at Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Take a look at his overall record. His best year was in 2019 when his school reached the Southland Conference semifinals in the tournament. And he's done a really good job, a native of Australia. Played professionally there, so a lot of experience from Shaw that he brings to the table.
No question about it. Always to have a coach that brings on those credentials, and I think you have that with both coaches here tonight. And then having the opportunity to share a lot of that talent and history and experience with your own team.
And Megan Guy now with possession, checks it back to Gill. And now Guy delivers into the box, but that's just a little too much heat on it. A little clash to keep it in play. And it will stay with Corpus Christi.
And that's great work from Guy there. I thought that ball was initially going to go out of play, and to her credit, she chased it down and was able to earn herself a throw in and maintain possession.
Left-footed cross into the box is dealt with. And now Southeastern, a long ball, hopeful, takes a bounce. We mentioned in the pregame the turf, kind of hard to judge sometimes, especially for the goalies. You can take that big bunny hop and just got to judge it right, but definitely difficult. And it goes for the players in play as well, besides the goalies having to adjust to that. Corpus Christi on the attack again. Cross into the box. Dangerous delivery as Westbury nearly got on the end of it. And I believe, is that a foul called maybe on Corpus Christi?
I believe so.
You take a look at the team comparisons. Corpus Christi with 6 more shots roughly on average, but Southeastern actually seems like they have a bit more quality shots on goal. And you see the fouls. Corpus Christi a physical side, saves as well, and assists. Kind of tell the story of both teams' seasons to this point.
Well, I think defensively, just one of the things that stands out there is you know, goals conceded, and you know, neither of these teams concede a lot of goals. And I think if you look at the history of the last 3 matches that they played one another, they've all been very tight, close matches with no win. I think the biggest difference we had was just a 1-goal difference. They traded, I think, a win and a loss last year, and then ultimately the Lady Lions came ahead in the tournament. But 2 teams that, no question, can play at a very high level.
Southeastern winning another throw in is Holly Rowe. Will throw the ball back in play. And now it's off of Holly Rowe, so it will be an Islander throw.
Also now in the match for Texas A&M.
As the ball
number 18,
sticks by both sidelines here during these last few moments of play. Southeastern trying to get the ball up the field. Now Corpus Christi in possession. Has a runner on the wing. Didn't see her back to goal. Some good defending from Southeastern, but right as I say that, that's going to be a foul and a free kick given away to Corpus Christi.
That's definitely a foul. A little bit unfortunate there in the timing, but you can see Texas A&M Corpus Christi now finding their groove a little bit, getting a little bit more possession, playing a little bit more up top. And now just on this set piece free kick, you can see 5 players for the Islanders playing near the back line there of the Lady Lions.
And now here's Yoder, a nice steal, trying to 1v1 the defender, pushes it around her. Great touch and speed. Cutting it inside, and 2 Southeastern players kind of got caught on the ball there, too close to one another, but Houston will come away with it and they'll reset.
Yeah, it was great work there, I think, from Massengill on the right wing. Initially just did one of the old moves that I used to be able to do when I could run. But just going around the defender there, playing the ball one way. And if she looks to provide service there and wins a throw-in.
And that was Massengale as she wins a throw-in, like you just said. Showing you some great combination of pace and skill on that wing. And Haley Rowe will throw it in. The Southeastern threatening for their second goal. Massengale. Cross is blocked and cleared away. It will stay with the Lions, or the Lady Lions. Rowe with the throw-in. Massengale again lets it run out of play. On the wrong side of the flag for Southeastern. I know they'd like to get a corner kick so close down here. And again, it stays with Southeastern, just kind of maintaining possession. Good defense by Corpus Christi, but Southeastern with the ball in this area now. That will be a corner kick. Finally, the persistence from the Lady Lions is paid off with a set-piece opportunity.
Yeah, again, great work. Not quitting on the ball and earning your team a corner kick. One thing that I was a little surprised to see, Texas A&M Corpus Christi pulling everybody back, 11 players on their end of the pitch. And now 11 players inside their own penalty area to defend this corner kick.
And it looks like that's going to be a foul on Southeastern, so center ref Scott Hanna not putting up with any pushing and shoving or shenanigans, as we might say, in the box. Southeastern now the second time they've had a set piece from a corner kick opportunity annulled and a goal or a free kick for Corpus Christi.
Yeah, but another well-taken corner kick there, very well placed. I believe you mentioned that was just a great job in terms of where you're putting the ball there.
And Corpus Christi seeks out that attack to stop it in its tracks. Trying to find Harris. Good defending right there from Dalton Fish, but hits it off of Houston. And now Harris with a great ball to Megan Guy on the wing. She has Westbury streaking in the box. Can she find her? No, she can't. That'll be a goal kick. But just to show you how quick the Islanders are on the counter and how dangerous they could be. One through ball.
Yeah, and I couldn't tell if Megan Guy was trying to shoot there or provide service.
You see A&M Corpus Christi with 2.33 goals per game. That ranks 23rd nationally and tops in the Southland Conference. And they've already broken their single season record with 28 goals with still 5 games to play on the season. So quite a year.
Yeah, how impressive is that? Just a goal-scoring machine this year, but so far held in check here by the Lady Lions, not really giving up many opportunities, are the Lady Lions, to their credit, doing some pretty good defending here early. And we've seen some good counterattacks, one most recently there. It looks like we'll have a free kick here that's going to be taken by Westbury.
And interesting, she took the corner with her left foot and now the free kick with her right. Showing you that 5-star weak foot. Which one is the weak foot? But Griffin is able to handle that as it skips kindly to her and she boots it away.
Yeah, a little disappointing, I think, on that free kick there from Westbury. Just kind of served it in. Wasn't quite sure if she was looking for runners there or not.
Yeah, Rachel Lotzer just took a ball right to the face. Let's hope she's okay. She'll definitely need a few moments. As you see the defender for Southeastern apologetically coming over.
Yeah, those things happen from time to time, unfortunate. You know, one thing we always get reminded of is that the ball is faster than how fast you can react, right? I think that was a great example of that. But she's okay. We'll see if we can take another look at this. Yeah, just a clearance attempt there. That kind of caught her in the face. A little bit unfortunate. Looks like she's holding her nose there a little bit. Just hope she's all right.
Yeah, Lotzer, the attacking midfielder in the middle of the park for Corpus Christi. You see Craig Shaw commanding the troops from the sideline. And both teams making subs now.
Islanders, number 2, Emma Gibbs.
And we'll throw it down for an in-game report to our reporter Taylor Nettle down with the Islanders. Taylor?
Chase, Islanders head coach Craig Shaw told me one thing about this year's team is that it's a very young team. Having a young team consisting of mainly sophomores and juniors has made the Islanders really rely on trusting the process and believing in themselves through thick and thin. Shaw said that this mindset has built the foundation of this team. And another thing that Shaw made note of was how this team is one of the few that really has the switch. That switch being between having fun and remaining determined and driven. These women have the ability to enjoy every second of practice and in games, but they don't struggle to flip that switch and keep themselves entirely focused during intense moments.
Thank you, Taylor. Some interesting tidbits there from the Islanders. And the switch definitely needs to be turned on, trailing 1-0 here in Hammond on the road. As they're in third place, still battling atop, as we showed you the standings a moment ago, but Southeastern having its way so far. A little over halfway through the first half of play. And Emma Jones believed that was I think a cross attempt or a pass attempt, live pass, but that's out of bounds. So Zoe Terrio will get a goal kick for the Islanders.
Yeah, a little bit mishit there. I think I agree with you. I think she was probably trying to serve it in there. Ball went off the side of her foot a little bit, resulting in a goal kick here for the Islanders.
Terrio booting it downfield. And I believe that foul is going to be called on Massengill. And she's been Massengill drew the foul, and it's going to be a Southeastern free kick, which is taking too quickly for the ref's liking. Yeah, Scott Hanna says, nope, you got to go off of me. Haley Rowe tried to pull a fast one.
But I don't think even the Southeastern players were ready for that one either. The ball just kind of made its way through.
Emma Jones lining up. See if her service is more on point for this delivery. And that's a great ball in. Across goal and tapped in. Southeastern, a beautifully worked set-piece routine. And they take a 2-0 lead here in Hammond after 25 minutes of play.
What a fantastic ball in, no question about it. And then kind of a tap over back to the right there. And trying to see, did we get who scored that goal? It looks like
Sarah Bencevic.
Yeah, what a beautiful free kick in here. And just a nice one-time touch to the center. And then Bankovic right in the perfect spot there in the center of the goal. And really an easy touch in, but it's the positioning that counts there. And credit to the Lady Lions here for another goal. And that one probably a little bit more satisfying than the first one, but great work from the Lions.
Now back on the left foot, interesting shot attempt. Made Griffin think about it. Probably the best shot on goal we've seen so far for the Islanders. But yeah, back to that. That's just how you draw it up in training. Jones, a peach of a ball. In stride, catches Nicole O'Neill, the forward, and she played it back across the goal mouth. Terrio had to come out to defend O'Neill. Plays it across, and look what I found. Sarah Bancevic taps it in for a 2-0 lead. Southeastern. Oh, and that ball is fizzed across goal. So 2 shots wide of either post. Corpus Christi seems to have kind of woken up, as they're definitely going to need that switch that Taylor mentioned earlier. Down 2-0. Definitely not the game plan for Coach Shaw and company.
No, certainly you don't want to go down more than one goal here if you can. You'd love to try to climb back in. And again, there's still plenty of time in this match, but and look, they're giving a great effort here. It's just a situation where you just tell your players to remain calm, remain patient, continue with what we came out here to do, and conduct the business that we were here to do, and try to see if you can't generate a goal here before halftime. But certainly, if you're the Islanders, you don't want to give up a third goal here before half. You definitely would like to try to climb back and get one.
The Islanders with some key defending there. They keep Southeastern at bay. Haley Rowe's been quite active on the throw-ins. Throw-in duty here down this right flank. See if she could get any support. And she finds Massengill. who's double teamed immediately. Nice press defense right there from Corpus Christi. And just nice touch by Westbury, who stays upright. And now a steal in the midfield. Storm Harris on the ball now. Trying to switch the play, perhaps. A clever little through ball. And streaking. The deliveries wasn't the greatest, but spilled a little bit by Griffin, but a key clearance for Southeastern. Some warning signs, though, for the Lady Lions.
That was dangerous play there, no question about it. It's a beautiful ball. First played wide and then played into the center there, but ultimately the Lions able to clear it out. And there's our goal again for the Lady Lions, and I was trying to see who actually got the first touch on that. I didn't quite see if you got the number. It was Brackman, I think, right?
Number 12, Natalie Gonzalez.
I think it could have been Victoria Brackman if she's in the match. Couldn't quite tell from up here, but that was a great first touch. It was just great all around there from the Lady Lions. First placing the ball where she did initially, and then getting that. Yeah, it is Brackman that got that touch over and allowed Bankovic to put the ball into the net.
And now Massengill on the counter. Southeastern trying to play a long ball, just a little bit overcooked, but Mackenzie Marr made a good run to split the center backs and nearly got on the end of it. You see that big bunny hop on the turf. Islanders trying to get something going. A goal before half would be huge to give them some life. Southeastern playing some good defense, sticking close to their markers and holding off the defender on that left wing. Trying to turn, but that's a clear shove.
That's clear foul. It's a frustration foul. And I think those things are going to happen from time to time. Really no need to push off there.
Yeah, that was Natalie Gonzalez, newly into the game. Provide some speed down that left channel, but can't do that if you're the redshirt junior. Like you said, probably some frustration.
Well, I think, and you have to give credit here to the Lady Lions, as you mentioned, a lot of tight marking. But the other thing that I've noticed as well, when the Lady Lions don't have possession and the Islanders do gain possession, immediately you see someone coming onto the ball. They're not allowing the Islander players to have time on the ball. And basically what you're doing when you apply that is you're not allowing them to take time to make decisions. You're forcing them to have to make decisions, sometimes a little bit more prematurely.
Possession will stick with Corpus Christi. Jaden Ray looking to throw things in for us. Looks like we have a bit of a stoppage in play for some substitutions for either side.
Corpus Christi, number 13.
Coming into the game is Rachel Lotzer, who took that knock. You see,
For Southeastern,
looks like some
number 9,
gauze in her left nostril. Maybe had a nosebleed from taking that ball to the face earlier, but showing her toughness. She's back out there and definitely a key player for this Islander squad.
Good to see her back up and about in play.
Massengale was dispossessed by Mylisa Addis. Both teams exploring their options. On the bench, subbing in and out, getting some fresh legs on the pitch. And a nice head on and a big collision. Yeah, that's going to be a foul on Southeastern. I believe that was the freshman, Emma Ramsey. Sent Crump to the ground. Key defender for the Islanders. Interviewed her early in the week. Very nice young lady, and it's easy to see why. She's had so much success this year, as well as the rest of her teammates. Was second team All-Southland last season and looking to repeat the feat this year as only a sophomore. Possession one in the middle of the field. Lotzer back in the game, back on the ball. And a nice one, too. Corpus Christi trying to get something going. Cross into the box. Griffin with a brave punch. As an Islander forward was lurking at the back post. Griffin able to get rid of danger, and now a counterattack for Southeastern, but it's going to be stopped by the referee. Kind of would have liked advantage to maybe be played there. I don't know about you, partner, but
I agree with you on that. A referee stopping play. I think even the players were surprised that he stopped. But let's go back to that effort there from the Islanders, almost putting an equalizer in. What a beautiful service into the box. But a great save there, no question here, as we can see the service played in. And then what a great save coming out. Off her line there was Griffin. And she had to come off there, as you mentioned. Player lurking in the box for the Islanders, but no doubt the best opportunity for the Islanders so far.
Yeah, and head coach Nathan Gillespie certainly will be smiling seeing his goalie Griffin make a play like that. And nice skill right there by Addis, but only as far as Dalton Fish, who puts her boot through it and clears it.
Well, I think this matches everything that we anticipated. Two teams going at it here as you're leading towards hitting to the latter part of the year. I think some of the players were looking for a foul there. Referee allowing play to go on. Probably a good no call, but fantastic match if you're a fan.
Definitely has been entertaining, to say the least. Now under 12 minutes to go here in the first half. It is Southeastern Louisiana University with a 2-0 lead over Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Southeastern in search of their third goal. Throw in taken pretty quickly. And a ball played into the center of the box, dealt with by the Islanders. And now Southeastern trying to get a look at goal. And here's a shot from distance off the post. Man, that would have been a beauty. Southeastern still has the ball. And they'll earn themselves a corner kick, but my goodness, nearly got out of my seat. A rocket off the post, and the keeper, Terrio, was beaten.
What an incredible shot. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Just rips one there, and boy, that just looks like it was going right into the corner of the net, and that was Houston on the shot. Just a little bit unfortunate there, caught the post, but wow, what a shot.
I think that was actually Maya Guillory.
Was it Guillory?
Yeah,
I thought
the leading scorer.
I thought I saw Houston there, but perfect. That it was what a great shot. Just it took me out. Yeah, you're right. It was, and what a wonderful shot. And as you mentioned, Terrio's beaten there. There's nothing she could have done to save that one. Unfortunate if you're the Lions, not to get that one in. Fortunate if you're the Islanders, not to give up that third goal. But ball looked like it just came out of a cannon, didn't it?
Man, you can't hit them any better than that. Laces right through the center of the ball. And very unlucky for Guillory that it's not 3-0, but what a beautiful switch and play right there by Corpus Christi. And Maggie Murray down the flank trying to do or get by her defender, but can't get to it. Some good defense right there on the flank by Southeastern. And will stay with the Island.
Texas A&M Corpus Christi, number 25, Alana Mangan.
And a substitution.
Southeastern, number 25.
Coming into the game is Alana Mangan for the Islanders. And Corpus Christi, ball kind of ricochets in the box now. Behind kick, but that is cleared by Southeastern. Still with Corpus Christi, and a hopeful ball, but into the arms of Olivia Griffin. And she'll reset play for Southeastern.
Yeah, and that was Westbury again coming in, kind of looking for Harris again in that center position there. Just good awareness there from Griffin. You know, we talked about goalkeepers, and it's nice to be able to make saves and do all those things, but at the end of the day, it's also about being in the right position and being able to know ahead of time where that ball might be and have that anticipation. And she just has shown that she can do that so well here tonight.
You see the series history. Southeastern leads 7-3-2. And the Lady Lions won the last meeting 1-0 in the quarterfinals of the Southland Conference Tournament last season, as they met 3 times actually during the regular season. Was the Lady Lions getting the best of the Islanders? Have certainly got the best of them so far in the first half, but a nice run by Lisa Addis, and she still got the ball almost across the field, and she earns her side a throw-in. Victoria Brockman putting in some defensive work from the midfield.
Yeah, that's a great run there from Addis. Agreed. And sometimes that's what you need to do. You just need to dictate the pace. And if you feel you can take the space, just take the space and try to get some more players forward.
And now Southeastern looking for what a through ball. And now crossing it into the box is Hannah Moffitt, but just over everyone. But again, a nice counterattack from Southeastern. I believe that was Maggie Dennison that started it with the through ball down our right side here.
And I've been very impressed with Southeastern Louisiana University's ability to get players wide and use those through balls to try to force some of those central defenders. Really, the strength of the defense for Texas A&M Corpus Christi to get them kind of out of position, and they've created some problems on a lot of these wide balls and serves into the box.
Emma Ramsey showing off the skill, the freshman forward, cutting inside, finding her teammate, but will remain with Southeastern. As here she is again on the ball, tries to make a turn, but is dispossessed. And Rowe gets in there, tough challenge. And she gets some help from Massengill. And Massengill gets a touch again. Here's a Rowe now, shielding off the, I believe, Lotzer, and keeps possession with the Lions.
Just great effort here on both teams' part. But again, I just think the Lady Lions doing a better job closing players down more quickly. As we have another service attempt in here. That time by Houston.
And that one's going to be hit out of play by Emma Jones. But one person I've had my eye on is Lisa Addis, who's obviously got pace and just with showing you with her play, making that run across the field and provide a little spark for the Islanders. I want to get her the ball at her feet a little more.
Absolutely. She looks comfortable on the pitch, doesn't she? And she's also had some nice runs to her credit. And overall, it's just been really an exciting match, kind of back and forth here. Both teams with opportunities. Obviously, the Lions with being up here, but certainly the Islanders are every bit in this one right now.
I like to correct myself. It is Lisa Addis. Sorry, Lisa, for the mispronunciation, but had herself a nice first half. Now, losing effort so far is SLU with control, 2-0, as we are seconds away from the 5-minute mark here in this first half of Southland Conference soccer. And Jones will comfortably deal with that, not under pressure.
I think the referee may have called a foul here.
Yeah, I believe. Looks like it'll be a free kick deep in, well, the 30-yard line on the football field. But Emma Crump won long free kick duties from their own half. She puts her hand up, trying to see if they could win a header and have a chance on goal to half this lead, and takes a big bounce, and the touch and the shot, and what a kick save, but the follow-up is in. Corpus Christi has got their lifeline from the set piece, and right on cue, Lisa Addis with a reaction shot. It was a great save initially by Griffin, a kick save with her foot, but Lisa Addis with the second chance opportunity, quickest to react.
Yeah, it was a great initial shot attempt there. Saved, as you mentioned, by Griffin. Really did a super job on the first save, but then, of course, on the rebound, Addis just in a great position there. It's what you always teach your players to do, always follow up the shot in case there's a rebound opportunity. And to her credit, She's able to help her team climb back into this match. Great finish. Great work from the Islanders.
And Southeastern now with the ball back, plays a long through ball into the corner. And I think the last touch was off Southeastern. It is. But, man, that was huge right before the half to get some momentum back, something to build upon if you're Corpus Christi for this second half. And, again, nice shot. I mean, that was dead center of the goal, right under the crossbar with some power. Griffin had no chance of saving the second attempt by Addis. And I believe that was Natalie Gonzalez, though, with a good touch and a little turn with her left foot. Got it on target, low shot to really create the play. And nice ball by Crump. We mentioned the hops on the turf kind of victimized that SLU back line on that set play, and it is 2-1.
Yeah, you're right. Gonzalez had the initial shot. Got it on frame there. And there's another ball in. Falls to Griffin.
Yeah, and the Islanders kind of showing you, seems like they found a bit of a switch here in the last few minutes. Just shows you how quickly they can turn it on and in attack. I mean, they can find goals in spurts. And SLU kind of just trying to hold on for these last 2 minutes of the half with their lead.
Well, and that's one of the things that Coach Shaw was telling about his team in the interview. A lot of resilience on this team. They don't get down when things are tight, when they're under pressure. They handle themselves extremely well.
Beautiful switch.
I think there might have been an offside call. Yeah, I see the assistant referee's flag up on that side, but just a team with a lot of resilience. They don't quit, and when they're down, they don't give up, and it's a credit to the coaching and obviously the mentality of the players as well.
Coach Shaw has built himself up a nice program in Corpus Christi, Texas. As we take a look at that goal, it looked like it, like we said, Gonzalez with the left-footed effort. Griffin, a nice initial save, and then Addis just reaction with the right foot. Power right under the crossbar with pace, and no chance for Griffin to make a double save right there. And Addis getting her side back into the game.
Yeah, it really wasn't poor defending there. I think Haley Rowe was kind of in the middle, or Haley Rowe was in the middle there, just trying to track the ball down. And then after the first shot was let go, probably didn't see it since her back was to it off the rebound. But positioning of the Lions players wasn't really that bad there. Just that's a great individual effort for the Islanders to get that goal.
Under a minute to go. Looks like Southeastern will have a chance for our final attack of the first half with a throw-in deep in the defensive half of the Islanders. And it'll be Hannah Moffitt with the throw-in. And a nice little flick on, kind of inventive play right there. And Emma Jones deals with it at the back with the header.
8, 7, 6, 5.
And now a ball downfield to chase for Addis, but Southeastern will deal with it. And that is all she wrote for this first half. Southeastern with a 2-1 lead. Really a terrific first half of play. You said it was back and forth. Southeastern jumped out to a 2-0 lead and then answered, or what an answer by the Islanders.
Looking at the players and seeing if there's any fatigue, because fitness a lot of times, again, playing in Louisiana, playing in the South, the temperature might be favorable, but the humidity is always there too. So really looking forward to what should be an outstanding second half between two really quality teams here.
A fantastic 45 minutes of play. Let's hope for an equally exciting 45 minutes of the second half. And Southeastern kicks things off with a 2-1 lead. And that's not a good start right out of bounds. Just a misplayed ball. And Corpus Christi will take over possession. Nice touch and turn by Storm Harris, but a little heavy touch. taken care of by the Lady Lions defense.
Yeah, and I think that was Yoder on the clearance. And there's nothing wrong with that. You know, a lot of times coaches and players get criticized for just clearing the ball out of the back. Frankly, I'm a fan of it. If you're not sure, kick it out. When in doubt, kick it out. And that usually protects any chance of anything happening easy up the middle. So very authoritative clearance there, and nothing wrong with that at all.
And now Corpus Christi. Could they be in here? The cross, and that's going to be into the side netting. Kind of a disappointing delivery after what looked like a promising move for the Islanders.
That was Gonzalez doing a really good job, making a nice run up the left wing there, but also good defending. She was getting closed down there by the outside defender from the lines, making that angle a little bit more difficult and somewhat forcing that ball to go behind the goal.
Islanders with the early pressure, looking for that equalizer. And Southeastern will marshal that ball out of play for a goal kick. Definitely seems like the Islanders are kind of taking the game. I mean, it's very early on, but it seems like they have for sure more incentive so far, down by 1.
Well, both teams, again, playing with exceptional pace, giving a great effort. But I think both teams know that if you can kind of hang on without giving up another goal. But here's another opportunity there, actually, from Gonzalez. Looks like they're trying to feed Gonzalez here early in this half, but I was actually going to go back and comment on Massengill because I thought her play, we didn't talk about her a lot, but she made so many good runs, and I loved playing the ball wide and allowing those lateral runs from the Lady Lions. I thought they really did a nice job kind of forcing those center backs from the Islanders to have to come back and defend. But right now, as you mentioned, Texas A&M Corpus Christi trying to find that next step if they can, and maybe pick up the pace of play a little bit, play a little bit more direct, maybe play a little bit long ball and test the back line of the Lady Lions.
And Corpus Christi with a switch across field. And yeah, that's going to be a foul call near midfield. So a set piece opportunity. We saw Corpus Christi half the deficit late in that first half. We'll see if Crump can repeat the deed and see if one of her forwards can get on the end of this and tie this game up.
Yeah, and of course they're going to play all players forward here, and you're going to have 10 players back for the Lions. It's a good flick on, though.
And Griffin, Johnny on the spot, shot out of her goal to come corral that ball, as that was a good flick on by Corpus Christi. Nice pass and chest control by Claire Houston, who tried to make a move, but, or actually that was Maya Guillory. At 6 and 5, look quite similar with the black jerseys at night, but there's Guillory again getting in on the action. Corpus Christi trying to keep possession, build some momentum. And that should be a Lady Lions throw-in, and it is. That was off of Maggie Murray, who now is pressuring O'Neal. Jones with a long ball. And now Crump returns the favor. Southeastern wins the header, though, and Jones puts her laces through it.
That's great defending, though. It's confident defending. Get the ball out of danger and let it fall where it falls.
Jones now a bit of a loose pass, but possession will stay with the Lady Lions. And a lot of room in the middle of the field. That's Massengill. You mentioned her. Had a really good first half. Creating some opportunities. Guillory with a nice ball out wide. And now beating her defender on the wing. Crossing it into the box, but nice piece of defending. Will be an SLU corner.
That was great work, though, and a great ball in.
And now let's hear from our sideline reporter, Mackenzie Fletcher, on these Lady Lions. Mackenzie?
Chase, while this Lady Lions team is a very close-knit team on and off the field, that does not get in the way of their competitive spirit at practice. The Lady Lions are split into different colored teams, all looking to claim a 5-on-5 championship each week at practice. Both Maya Guillory and Olivia Griffin told me that this whole team looks forward to these 5-on-5 games and that these games fueled their competitive fire and intensity on the field when they get to face their true opponent come actual game time. And if you are interested in to see who wins the 5-on-5 title each week, you can find their team pictures posted with the winner of the week on the Lady Lions Instagram page.
Thank you, Mackenzie. That's very interesting. Shout out to the social media department. Whoever runs that account for Southeastern doing a great job. As you see the competitive juices. And they've really shown on the field tonight for SLU with the 2-1 lead. Would love to see some inside scoop on the morale and companionship of the team. And now, man, that's a moon ball from Terrio. Southeastern comes away with it, but turnover now. And Storm Harris has the ball. Tries to play a through ball, but Griffin is first to it.
Yeah, again, good defending, though, from the Lady Lions. What you don't want to do is give inside position there. Because you could see Westbury trying to make a run on that ball, and I think it was Hallie Rowe that kind of came across and cut her angle. Very good defending there from Rowe.
And now out wide, the cross, looping at the back post just over the head. Couldn't quite tell who that was, but the ball will stay with Corpus Christi.
Yeah, I think it was Gonzalez in the middle, kind of waiting for that opportunity to get a header on it. But a good service into the box there from the Islanders as they continue to put more pressure on the goal here of the Lions.
Yeah, that was Maggie Murray, the junior forward, with that cross into the box. Just a tad over hit, but right idea. And Corpus Christi on the front foot through the first 6.5 minutes of play. Southeastern, though, still with the 1-goal lead. And Maya Guillory is fouled. Some tough work right there. She was tripped up by Sam Ostrowski. And
you can see this game is getting more and more competitive. It's getting more physical as the minutes go on.
You see Maya Guillory, who just drew the foul. She's the team leader in goals on the season with 4. She was a first-team All-Southland selection. Player of the Week twice last season. And her numbers speak for themselves. She's really been a terrific senior player and emotional leader of this squad, and she shows it with her play on the field.
No question about it. And, of course, she's going to be mad at me for accidentally giving that shot that she had on goal credit to someone else. But no question about her leadership. We talked about her early in the match, and obviously in per game, she's just been outstanding all year, and someone that a lot of her teammates we know lean on her for not just her play on the field, but the way she's perceived off the field as well. And again, I think the story, again, as we heard over and over here tonight, is just a family atmosphere amongst both these teams here tonight, and it's just great to see.
Certainly is, as referee showing off the touch. It'll be a free kick for Southeastern. So actually a drop ball.
Yeah, anytime the ball hits the referee, it's a drop ball, usually to the team that has possession at the time. And in that particular case, the Lions had possession.
That was a nice idea right there by Claire Houston. Sprayed that pass across the field, but is going to go out. But it will be a corner kick, the referee signals.
And that's what we call, if you saw what Guillory did there, she did what's called a dummy. She kind of let the ball go through her there while she had a defender thinking that she might be able to take that ball. And as a result of that, the Lions earn another set-piece opportunity and another corner kick.
And the Lions are making a sub during this corner. The delivery into the box is headed away. Takes a ricochet. And now Corpus Christi could have something on. Storm Harris off to the races. 3 Lions, though. She has a runner streaking across the box, but didn't really have much room to get that ball across. Nice defending by Emma Jones. And possession still with the Islanders.
Yeah, good counter-attacking here, but again, good defending from the Lions initially.
And another piece of good defending by Hallie Rowe on Maggie Murray.
Yeah, give Harris some credit though on that run, right? She just went right after it, which is what you need to do. But ultimately, 1 versus 3, the math just doesn't work, and that's to your point. Even though she had runners there, couldn't get the ball in. We'll see if they can't take advantage of the corner kick here.
Reese Cross with her delivery into the box. Griffin with the aggressive punch. And here's the follow-up shot, looping towards goal. Griffin backpedaling, gets both paws to it to just push it to the wrong side or the right side for her. She is a bit shaken up. Textbook piece of goalkeeping, though.
Yeah, and it's always hard as a goalkeeper when you fall in the goal. There's 2 things there. If you can see, there are the wheels, right, that allow you to move the goal forward and backward, and then they're sandbags. First of all, we'll have a look at the replay here on these saves.
Wow, and she actually just touched it over the crossbar. That's really an outstanding piece of goalkeeping by Griffin to preserve this Southeastern lead. And she might need to be called into action at least a few more times by the looks of it, as Corpus Christi is on the front foot, and she makes a much easier save that time right at her. But
yeah, I'll tell you, those were 2 excellent saves that you don't see very often from Griffin. And as I was saying before, there's some impediments there on the inside of the goal, one being the wheel, and then the other being the sandbag, which that's required to weigh the goals down. It's an NCAA rule, so that in windy conditions, nothing happens there. Here again, we have a good look at, and that was the second save there. She just kind of fell in there, couldn't quite tell what she hit. Looks like she landed on one of the sandbags. Yeah, looks like she's okay, but we'll have to keep monitoring that.
I'd like to say great awareness too, as that's just goalie instincts. I mean, obviously playing the position for years, but I mean, you don't have eyes in the back of your head. Got to know where the crossbar and the post is as you have a bunch of bodies in front of you. A lot of motion going in. You're trying to keep the ball out of the net, and really a fine job by SLU.
But credit the Islanders as well. It's great goalkeeping, but it's great goalkeeping for a reason. It's because you're creating chances. So good opportunities there for the Islanders to try to get an equalizer. Again, I think we have a great 30 minutes plus remaining in this one.
And that's Rachel Loester again. You got to wonder, she took a shot to the face. So the camera just showed her going off to the sideline, maybe a bit shaken up again. Yeah, she's really toughed it out and been a key cog in the middle of the park for the Islanders all season. And now a long throw in down the flank, dealt with by Southeastern. Bodies hit the deck, and that's going to be a free kick for the Lady Lions. Yeah,
that's definitely a foul. And it's a foul on the Islanders, and I believe that was Harris, just really with an unnecessary push at the end there. And the ref, again, you can see this game getting more and more physical, more emotional.
Nice touch by Griffin as center back played it back to her in the air and bumped off the ball strongly. Mentioned the physicality of the Islanders.
But that to me was a foul. Even though it was more of a shoulder, it was hard enough, in my opinion, to warrant a foul because there was no danger of trying to win the ball there. So, again, we'll have to see how our center referee does here tonight here as these ladies continue to play more physical as time goes on.
Southeastern does win the ball back via a throw-in. And Rowe will put the ball back in play. Nice touch right there in turn, but is dispossessed. The Crump came in with the tackle, and now Corpus Christi, Gonzalez couldn't really possess that ball, and now Southeastern going the other way. Nice stop and start by Yoder, and then she goes over. That's a clear foul. near midfield.
But that wasn't with any intention. That was just Yoder doing a nice job kind of transitioning there, doing what we call a little pullback, changing direction. But sometimes doing that can help you create foul opportunities.
Taken quickly, Maya Guillory tried to sky for it, just couldn't get it, but that'll be a throw-in. As it went on the wrong side of the corner flag for Texas A&M Corpus Christi. Interesting, it's really the worst spot on the field. You could have a throw-in, see if Southeastern can press and get a turnover, try to turn it into a goal. And now a lot of space for the Islanders out on this far side of the field as they get out of the danger zone, if you will. And wow, oh, flying into the bench. Glad she popped up quickly. That was kind of dangerous play right there.
Yeah, and I don't think the coach is too happy about that. I think he felt that there was a foul there, talking about Coach Shaw.
Morgan Westbury, 7 goals and 16 points on the season, the leading goal scorer. She's 4 for 4 from the penalty spot, first in D1. 37 shots, 16 of those being on goal. And she had a hat trick earlier in the season against Prairie View. And haven't seen a whole lot of her tonight, but, man, she's had a fantastic season. Definitely would like to see her make an impact on the second half.
No question her team's looking to her for exactly that. I think to the Lions' credit, they've done a nice job marking her. I thought she got loose a couple of times in the first half there, provided some good service into the box, got herself free on the wings, but again, has mostly been held in check here tonight.
Here's Yoder, a low shot, and that'll be handled by Terrio.
And, you know, one of the things I've noticed here tonight, too, great movement from both these teams. You know, we talk about how good players can be on the ball and all that stuff, but at the end of the day, it's the movement without the ball that usually creates the opportunities. And, again, that's what I was saying earlier. Watching Massengill make those runs, I think 2 or 3 of them in a row in the first half, I think really helped kind of loosen up the center back line of the Islanders. And I think you're seeing that with both teams here, the Islanders here, especially in this half. You're seeing a lot of movement off the ball when they gain possession, and that's exactly what you're looking for in a counterattack opportunity.
And Southeastern, little through ball and a dummy. May have been unintentional, but the ball will stay with the Lady Lions. As Haley Rowe really has been quite active in that back three all over the field on throw-in duties, but you see a sub come onto the field for Southeastern. Believe that is Sarah Bancevich, who scored the goal to put Southeastern up 2-0 initially, and that's the difference between these two sides right now.
Yeah, extremely tight game. She certainly earned her pay there for the first goal, or for that goal. I say pay, of course, these players aren't, you know. But what a great opportunity for her to come in and have an impactful goal at a very critical point in the match and create some separation.
And not the best throw in there. Corpus Christi could be on the counterattack, but Southeastern defended that well and earned themselves a throw. Man, the second half is going by rather quickly. Not quite to the halfway mark, but almost nearly 20 minutes of play already behind us here in Strawberry Stadium. And now Griffin boots that one down the field. Header is won by Corpus Christi, but nice piece of defensive work by Bancevich. Southeastern going the other way, and that ball's just going to be too far wide. I believe that was Massengale. It'll be a throw-in for the Islanders.
Yeah, a little bit too strong. That's one where probably on grass she gets to that one. But again, on turf, the ball just flows that much faster and makes it that much more difficult to try to catch up to it.
Massengale forcing a throw-in. I mentioned her already, but just love her energy. She always seems, when the ball's on her side of the field, she has a nose for it in there, both defensively and with the ball at her feet. has a high work rate for SLU.
Well, I think when you look at
And now let's hear from our sideline reporter, Taylor Nettle, with some more news on the Islanders. Taylor?
Chase, for the Islanders, several players have special recipes for success that go beyond practice and hard work. It's their pregame ritual. Defensive standout Emma Crump always wears a pair of regular socks underneath her soccer socks. So every game, she puts on her right regular sock, her soccer sock, and then her shin guard before switching to the left to do the same. Since she's one of the top players in the league, I'm sure the team will make sure there are always an extra pair of socks on hand. But for scoring leader Morgan Westbury, she tapes her hand before each game with the name of her sister, Tegan Olson, an 8-year cancer survivor. Just a few meaningful techniques like this for these players will give them the edge that they need to have a successful game.
Go back, a touching moment right there. Almost a shot on goal, the wrong side of the post for Corpus Christi. But, yeah, as you mentioned, you know, Westbury, her sister, breast cancer survivor of 8 years. God bless her. And wearing the pink socks are Corpus Christi for Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is in the month of October. And Southeastern actually plays here Sunday in their breast cancer awareness game. So, love to see the support for such a big issue.
No question about it. I mean, I'm sure there's someone we all know that have been part of our lives that have gone through that struggle, and it's just so wonderful to see communities from everywhere and schools from everywhere sharing in the importance of the commitment to hopefully finding the cure for cancer at some point. And that was Westbury on that shot before we had the last sequence there, and I thought that ball almost went in. She was going short post with it, and from our vantage point, it looked initially like it was in, but it went just wide. But another good scoring opportunity there for the Islanders.
And Bancevic on the ball in the midfield. Now Guillory, no foul call, maybe went over a bit easy, but definitely some contact. Islanders have a chance on the counter. Little cut inside from Megan Guy. And Southeastern wins the ball. However, looking for options down the flank. Maya Guillory with her head up. Tries an outside of the boot pass, but maybe had her, I think her leg got caught on the turf pellets a little bit. Couldn't get her quite enough power on that pass, but it will stick with SLU.
Looks like one of my passes now. That's about how hard I can kick the ball these days. But no good work. And actually, referring to that foul, it kind of looked like there was a little bit of push, but I was actually good with the no call from the referee there. I don't think it was enough to warrant a foul. I thought it was a good decision to play on there.
Crump got her foot in there on the defensive efforts, but SLU now, the little spell of possession. Hallie Rowe looking to throw it in.
And Crump's been active on the back line, too. We haven't called her name a whole lot, but when we have, it's because she's done something pretty good.
Now here's Guillory with the long throw. Nice little 1-2. Guillory cutting inside. Nice pass across the field. I believe that's Massengill, but she is going to be flagged offside. Nice idea from Guillory. Had some whipping, little curve on that ball into the path of Massengill, but just missed time to run just a tad.
Yeah, it was a great idea, as you said. Massengill almost by herself there, unmarked on the outside. She could have probably taken that directed goal, but probably just a yard and a half offside there on that opportunity.
Haley Rowe with the throw in. And now Crump will be forced to make the clearance. She kind of reminds me of, I mean, this is really high praises, but Virgil van Dijk a little bit at the back. For any Liverpool fan, just seems very calm as you like. And does a great job defending. Doesn't ever seem flustered on the ball, very calm, knows what to do with it. And she's a great asset to have in any team's defense.
You know, I was impressed doing player interviews this week for both teams, just the maturity level of these young ladies and women. Just, you know, something that you kind of take for granted, but just the way they express themselves, how professional and appropriate they were, that's a tribute not just to the players, but also to the institutions that they're playing for. Just was really wonderful to go through that experience.
Certainly was great talking to him. And here's the goal scorer, Melissa Addis, back into the ball game.
Entering the match for Texas A&M.
Now another substitution for Corpus Christi as Natalie Gonzalez, the one who had the initial shot saved from Griffin in the latter stage of that first half, that was then touched home by Addis with some power. And definitely an entertaining first half. No goals to this point. Still plenty of time, though, with a little over 19 minutes to go. And Southeastern, though, on the front foot right now. Just a little misplayed ball. And Zoe Terrio.
Yeah, I think that was that Maher. I think that was Mackenzie Maher actually trying to play it forward. Went a little bit too vertical with it. But again, good defending there from the outside defender of the Islanders to kind of cut off that pass, as we'll have another foul here against the Islanders. The foul count continues to tick up.
Maybe some tired legs out there as well. Usually see more fouls in the second half of play, but here's the delivery from Jones. And the header is on goal. My goodness, what a chance for Southeastern, and really a fantastic reaction save from Zoe Terrio.
That was an unbelievable delivery and header. And it was at Houston. I want to make sure I get it right this time. What a great header opportunity. Then I think there was a deflection. So the Lions here with a corner kick opportunity.
Man, I'll tell you, Emma Jones with the delivery on the second goal, that was just as good. I mean, how she find these passes from midfield, just finding the heads of her teammates. Really tremendous from the center back.
And if you recall, it's one of the things I talked about in pregame as a key for Texas A&M Corpus Christi, not to give up fouls in your defensive third. And the reason I mentioned that was because of examples just like this. You do not want to give the Lions the opportunity for a set piece in your defensive third.
And now Claire Houston delivers it in. Falls to the back post. And it looks like Corpus Christi will come away with it in the corner. With a nice ball and a nice touch, but just running out of room. Man, if could have kept that in play, the Islanders could have had a chance.
But look at the effort from Westbury. She loses that ball out of bounds. Not her fault, right? She had to take that first touch probably a little bit early. But the ball goes out of bounds, and what does she do? She runs back, full sprint, 20 yards to come back and help defend. That's a player who's playing with a lot of heart, playing with a lot of desire, and what you'd love to see as a coach.
Westbury doing all the little things right, key to her success this season. And certainly wouldn't bet against her to get the equalizer, down 2-1 with just under 17 minutes to go. Here's Holly Rowe trying to play it down the left-hand side, but Crump is first to it. Now a nice steal. And the pass is going to be sent out of bounds. The lead for a corner kick, but that was Bancevic again getting in on the action. And as you see here, my goodness, what a touch save by Zoe Terrio. And I think that was actually Maya Guillory.
It was Guillory, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to. I don't know what I have to do. I'm gonna have to buy dinner for her family or something, because that's twice now. But what a great header, as you mentioned. And I think, unfortunately, it's for me, sometimes the ponytails kind of have an impact on what you can see on the back of the numbers. So my apologies on that. But just a great effort, and as you mentioned, a great save, equally as good to prevent that ball from going in the goal.
Yeah, and you know, we've sung Olivia Griffin's praises a lot. She's really had to be called into action more despite her team's lead. But Terrio with a huge save. I mean, if Southeastern makes that, they're in the driver's seat up 2 goals with just over 15 minutes to play.
Yeah, I think a goal for either team here will make it difficult for certainly for either team to change much in terms of outcome, barring something catastrophic. If you're the Islanders, you definitely don't want to give up a third goal, but there's always that 20/20 hindsight. You can't just hang and defend because you need a goal. You need that equalizer, and that might require you to have to bring players forward, right? So just be interesting to see how they play out these last 15 minutes.
That'll be an Islanders throw-in. Southeastern now will flick a doubleheader. Trying to take it under possession. Nice steal. But just running out of room. I believe that was Brockman. Picked the pocket of the defender from the Islanders, but just ran out of green turf where she could have been on her way.
Yeah, and I think we'll have a corner kick here to the Lions. And it's at some point, one of these, the more corner kicks you give up, the higher likelihood there is that one of them is going to find its way in. So you like to avoid them if you can.
Here's the Serbian Bancevic, whose goal separates the two sides as we speak. Low delivery to the near post, dealt with nicely by the Islanders. And now that's a foul. Nice touch, though, as kind of played the defender, baited her on her shoulder, let the ball run across her. I believe that was Maya Guillory. And another set-piece opportunity for Bancevic to get one of these left-footed deliveries into the box.
Yeah, that was a pretty harsh foul there. And, definitely a foul.
That was Rebecca George getting caught. I think Guillory did a great job of kind of letting that ball run across her body, changing speeds. And now here's the delivery from Bancevic. Shot is blocked. Emma Jones trying to get on the action, retrieves it. And now that is a misplayed ball from SLU.
But nothing wrong with that. The Islanders are making a substitution.
See Olivia Griffin, she has allowed that one goal today, but 4 saves. Really that double save in the early parts of the second half was crucial, as this game could easily be tied at 2.
No question. Excellent goalkeeping from her tonight for sure. And actually, if you flip it to the other side, you look at the goals that the Islanders have given up. Could Terrier really have done anything on that own goal? I don't think so. I think it was just a change in direction that she didn't anticipate, because she's looking to go to retrieve that ball. And that second goal, she came out pretty nicely, but then just a great serve in for the Lions' second goal. I think the goalkeeping here on both sides tonight has been pretty good.
And here's Crump. Remember, the first goal from the Islanders came from a Crump delivery from this sort of distance. And dangerous ball. Griffin comes out, can't corral it. And it is blocked by Southeastern heroically. And now they could have a counter. That's going to be a handball. The referee didn't see it, though. Brockman controlled it with her hand. And now he does call it. But man.
Wow, what an unbelievable sequence. A lot of stuff happening in the penalty area of the Lions there.
And Emma Crump again will have a chance, this time from about 20 yards closer, to deliver into the box. And that's a lofted ball. Griffin will make the catch.
Yeah.
Man, the Islanders seem ever so close to the equalizer, and Southeastern really got away with one. Couldn't really see in that mass of humanity who got that clearance, but very clutch, whoever that did in the Southeastern defense.
But it all started with the save. Here's the replay, I think.
And you see Fish trying to shield off. And, yeah, that was Holly Rowe. Or it may have been Haley Gill, confused with the Twins. But anyway, Southeastern on the counter. They'll earn themselves a corner.
Yeah, but that all started again. We talked about the play of the goalkeepers. Just as we were talking about, Griffin comes up to make that save. And that's always tough when the ball's coming towards your goal and you're a defender, you don't know what's behind you, so you're kind of slowing down. You anticipate some pressure from behind you, but you can't ever take that for granted. So sometimes it can be confusing as a defender. Do I play this back and let her clear it out with her foot, or do I try to slow down the offensive player that's on my back running me down? And again, credit to the Islanders player there for putting the pressure on and forcing that save to happen from Griffin.
And a massive substitution for Islanders. Trot off 4 more, replace them. Shaw perhaps making his final chess move with his side trailing by a goal. Can these fresh legs make a difference in attack?
Yeah, and that's something, as I mentioned earlier, you look, ball's still loose in the box.
And finally, it is cleared by the Islanders. Southeastern not satisfied with the 1-goal lead. It's always very uncomfortable leading by a goal, just trying to hang on in the last 10 to 15 minutes of a match. Certainly a third goal would pretty much put this game to bed, you would think, from Southeastern standpoint. And a nice touch by Storm, who delivers a ball that is dealt with, and now Fish has it under her control. But
you know, there's so many players on both teams that I think have played well, and I'd be doing a disservice if we singled out, you know, one, although we obviously can narrow that down a little bit. But I'm just so impressed with the team play from both these teams, and the team defending is just really been exceptional.
Now a low ball into the box. Couldn't find the feet of a Lady Lion. And now some room to run and some numbers for Morgan Westbury. Look at the speed down the left flank. And she fires it into the side netting. My goodness. Westbury turning on the burners, and again, just missing the wrong end of the net, bulging from the Islanders' perspective.
Boy, that didn't miss by much, but there you saw the speed of Westbury. We talked about that early in the match. Her ability to separate and get one-on-one opportunities. I thought the defending by the Lions there, and I couldn't tell who that was, did an outstanding job just not allowing her to cut in, because what you want to do there as a forward is cut in. Once you cut in, you're pretty much golden, because now you can have the choice of whether or not I want to go on goal, or whether maybe I draw that goalkeeper out and play the ball in the middle. So good defending there. Didn't really allow her the opportunity to serve it in. Forced her towards the end line. Probably forced her to take that shot a little prematurely and unable to get it on target.
Right, Westbury wasn't able to check it back onto her right foot. Was forced to go with the left, and really was a true strike just off the mark. And 7.5 minutes to play. Everything to play for here in Hammond, Louisiana. Corpus Christi with a throw-in in search of that equalizer after going down 2-0 in the first half. Drew one back right before halftime, but has been a scoreless 38 minutes of second half play so far. Southeastern just holding on. Here's Westbury again. See if she can work her magic with back to goal. Try a little back heel trickery. And she's ready to go, trying to quickly throw it in. Down the flank to Storm Harris.
And actually, that could have been a card on Haley Rowe. By rule, you're not allowed to impede the thrower that's throwing in the ball. You have to give her 2 yards, and right as Westbury was throwing that ball in, she jumped in front of her. Probably a little bit fortunate there. Maybe not as big a deal for the referee, but by the law of the game, Rowe could have gotten a card there.
I did notice that as well. Good eye by you, Hans. As see Nathan Gillespie watching on his team. Looking like they're going to take home the win, but still good chunk of time left.
Yeah, I'm not ready to go there just yet. I'm seeing a lot of good stuff here from the Islanders. Obviously, time is not on their side right now, but gosh, what an exciting and entertaining match this has been. It's not over till it's over. Anything can happen here in the last 6 minutes of this match.
Certainly, as a goal, wouldn't surprise me one bit, and could be here, as that's going to be a foul. Haley Rowe, that was actually Holly Rowe, who was beaten, took down Maggie Murray, who delivers it into the box off the chest, and just couldn't control it. Griffin, thankfully for Southeastern, drops to her knees with the ball.
What a beautiful ball in, though. What a great service in. And I couldn't tell who chested the ball down, but you're right. That's one where the turf favored the goalkeeper because the ball carried a little bit. But, again, the Islanders aren't done here. They're going to continue to attack and push.
And if that through ball got through, I believe that was Westbury on that left-hand side.
That was her on the left wing, just kind of hovering.
I think that was Emma Jones that got the clearance in, really crucial for Southeastern. And now Jaden Ray with the throw in. And here's another through ball to Storm Harris. But it is watched out of bounds by Haley Rowe.
And that was good body shield. That's just good body shielding technique from Rowe there. Ball was played behind her. And as a defender, it's always hard because now you got to look for the ball and you have to look for the runner. She knew where the ball was, found it quickly, was able to keep their runner away and shield nicely. It's just good defending there. Good technical play from Rowe.
And Corpus Christi tried to get the throw in, but the referee signals it in favor of SLU. Hallie Rowe throws it in, finds Brockman, who was going to try to switch it, but a foul is called. Trying to take it quickly is Emma Gibbs. But now getting numbers wisely down the field in Southeastern's final third. Going to see a big long ball from the center back. Could this be one of the final chances for Corpus Christi to tie this game up? Bouncing around in the box, the shot! Saved by Griffin off the crossbar. Unbelievable, as that was goal bound and Griffin just touched it onto the crossbar. A goalie's best friend at times is the woodwork. Certainly came into play there, and Southeastern by the skin of their teeth hang on to this 2-1 lead.
That ball was going in, there's no question about it. Just an outstanding save there from Griffin. All I can say is wow. Great shot out of the air. The ball was dipping down. If Griffin doesn't get a hand on it, that ball's definitely going in. What an opportunity there for the Islanders. And that was Lotzer, who's actually back in the game. But what a great save from Griffin, and that could be the difference in keeping this match the way it is right now.
Well, certainly, like you said, still about 2 minutes, 40 seconds to play, but Griffin seems like, for me at least, is a player of the game for Southeastern to this point.
At this juncture, I don't think there's any argument that you get from anyone watching this match. She's been absolutely outstanding tonight. Again, lots of players impactful, frankly, on both sides, but I will not argue with you if you wanted to give her the player of the match. Certainly she's been a difference maker. And again, we talked about the importance of goalkeeping and having a coach that has a lot of expertise in playing and coaching goalkeeping, and they can do a lot of good things for you in tight matches, and that's exactly what we're seeing tonight.
Just out of play, Westbury trying to make something happen, and Haley Rowe will take her time on the throw-in, but just one more look at it. I mean, the ball pinballing a bit off of multiple heads, and then Lotzer, physical play, shielding, and then just a wonderful tip save. I mean, her hand is behind her head. The ball is past her going into the net, and just gets a fingertip to it, hits it onto the crossbar, which does the rest. But take a bow, Olivia Griffin. Still could be called into action, though, with just over a minute, but Southeastern going to play this ball into the final third to try to waste some more time.
And let's give Lotzer some credit on the shot, right? It wasn't the easiest shot. She was a little bit off balance there. Ball kind of fell to her. Give her credit for getting a good foot on it and putting it where she did. That's just one where you tip your hat and say congratulations to the goalkeeper and move on. But time now, a real factor. You really have to generate something immediately if you're the Islanders.
Yeah, and if you're Southeastern, you're trying not to give away a free kick, as we've seen how dangerous set pieces have been for both teams really thus far, but specifically resulted in the goal for Corpus Christi. And now Holly Rowe going to play a ball that is run onto. Clever little ball, but it is going to be out of play for a goal kick. And Zoe Terrio quickly gets the ball to her line, going to try to put her laces through it for the final attack of the night. And this bounces Southeastern in on goal, but Zoe Terrio with a huge save. Mackenzie Marr almost put the ribbon and bow on this game.
Yeah, and she was actually in an offside position. The assistant referee had his flag up.
10 seconds, 9,
Good catch right there by Hans, as the goal would not have counted, but
4,
Terrio didn't know that. Still good reaction save from her, but time winding down. Triple zeros on the clock. Southeastern holds on to the one in an intriguing matchup, to say the least. Coach Gillespie's side comes up with the win. You take a look around the South.